Hello everyone and welcome to another car profile, and where, if you haven't already guessed, we are in the Ferrari 458 GT3 car. And how good does that thing look? The 458, easily one of the best looking cars that has been designed in this century. It really is. It looks absolutely awesome. When one's in your rear view, by the way, it's insane. This car has a 4.5 litre V8 engine in it. It's an MR car with 6 gears. In terms of some notes for this car, so this car has won the Spa 24 hours 6 times. Twice in the GT Pro, twice in the GT Pro Am, and twice in the Gentleman area of the Spa 24. So that's quite a lot of achievements. He's won the Bathurst 12 hour. And according to Wikipedia, at least, the 458 GT3 holds the record for the most titles won, which is quite an impressive achievement, if I do say so myself. There are, of course, other variants of this 458, including a GTE variant. Now, there's no livery for this car, no official livery at least. I think that's to do with Ferrari because they're very picky in terms of how their cars look in games, and they can be very picky about which cars can go in and not go in, which is why you haven't got any of the newer variants of the Ferrari GT3 models. We jump straight into the car profile then, and if you're not subscribed already, please do subscribe to stay in touch with all the car profiles that come out here, and we go into the low speed tests then. So in terms of the test, if you're new to the channel, we do a low, medium and high speed test to see where the car fits in the overall Group 3 category. Does it need a buff? Is it okay where it is? And we see where we go from there. So going through the first sector here, we're racing the Porsche 911 RSR, and we are just under a 10th down there on that Porsche. We know the Porsche is a very strong car, and you can check out that car profile on the channel as well. But essentially, we compare against the fastest laps, but the overall leaderboard is done on Optimums. I always explain this. It's easier to get 10 best sectors than it is to get 10 good laps. As we come into here then, I do this in 4th gear. Now, I did it in 3rd or 4th gear as I was going through the laps here. I do 10 laps on each circuit, not including the out lap, which is why we're on lap 10, and we do also go on to lap 11 because we don't include that. Corkscrew was very hairy in this car. It really was. Now, this car is known in terms of Gran Turismo history of being very, very, very lively. The rear end always wants to come around at the slightest moment there's any form of weight transfer. You do have to be careful with that then as we go into the braking zone now for the final corner. Going through here, a little bit of a short shift there to stop that power oversteer as we continue on out of that corner. It's suffered from power oversteer too much, to be honest with you. We head towards the line and we get a 121.543. Nearly 3/10 off the Porsche then. But as I say, we do look at Optimums then, and that is what we're going to do here to see where it fits on that Group 3 leaderboard here at Laguna Seca on the low speed bop test. Right, let's get those tables loaded up then. Where does it sit? P6, so slap bang in the middle, around those 0.4s, which is quite a common place to be. So probably where it should be, maybe a bit higher, to be honest with you, because it should be a handling car, to be honest. So yeah, maybe it should be a bit further up there. But, you know, it's ahead of quite a lot of cars there, above halfway, which is always good in the grand scheme of the leaderboards, isn't it? Being above halfway, you're not at the bottom like that Ford GT LM race car Spec 2. So that's the low speed test done. What we're going to do now is go to the medium speed test, which is at Suzuka if you're new to this video series. Going to turn 1, it was very hairy into turn 1, and you're going to notice a little bit of oversteer there as we came in, but we managed to settle it. Had to really be careful of the gears, and on exit, again, the rear wanted to step out a little bit. Going into the S's, first couple laps were a bit dangerous, but then I got used to the car, as you can see here, and balancing the car in 3rd gear. Now, this car suffers some weird understeer at times. Now, parts of the S's there, it had weird understeer, and other times it was fine. Here, it was absolutely fine. And going through this left, it really liked it, as we're actually up here on the Toyota Supra. We've got a purple sector here as we leave Sector 1 then. Let's see what happens as we head towards Tidgney 1 and 2. This one could obviously bring up curb issues as we go over that curb. It wasn't too bad there, to be honest with you. The front lifting up didn't really affect the car that much. And on exit at Tidgney 2, I actually had a lot more grip than a lot of cars there as we cross that line. Oh, just down there now on that Toyota Supra as we head into the hairpin then. This is where it suffered a bit of understeer, actually. I really, really, really had to just hope that the car would stick on exit and that the front would just wouldn't wash out there, which it was fine on this lap as we're going to head towards Spoon then, and let's see what this car can do. So we've noticed here that the handling seems to be quite good on the car. It is lively, so the weight transition, which is why it's so good in the handling sections, but obviously the weight can over transition and cause that rear end to really go sideways as we go through here. A little bit of oversteer there. We catch it nicely though as we continue on out of there and head towards the end of Sector 3 then. What we're going to get versus that Toyota Supra, that is the question as we head towards the end of Sector 3, and in we go. 1.5 temps down, not too shabby though at the moment then. I went through 130R, one of the fastest cars I've ever driven through 130R. I will say that. I actually got a 150 through there without dropping below 150 at one point. Unbelievable speed through there. It really can carry the speed very nicely as we continue on out of here then and head towards that line. What kind of lap time is this going to be? And, oh, just 1.5 tenths off there with a 159.149. But remember, as I said just before, we look at Optimums. We don't just look at fastest laps. Fastest lap just gives you an idea of how the car is doing. Let's have a look at the Optimums then. Where does it sit? P4 then, doing very well. And I will say that the handling, it really likes Suzuka, the Ferrari 458. It really does. And I can see why it ended up there. You know, the S's, it was fine. Tidgney 1 and 2, it was great. It really was. Spoon, it was great. 130R, absolutely through, absolutely just flied through there. It literally went 150. I can't do that in most cars. I don't think I've done it in any car. I've done a 149 before, a 150. Very hard to do, and it nailed it. So I can see why it did work there at Suzuka. Let's go to the high-speed test then, which is Bathurst, and we all know this can be a bit iffy as we head towards turn 1. Wasn't too bad in turn 1. A lot of cars do suffer here. I did spin once there at turn 1, but it wasn't too shabby at all. Now, if you're wondering why I use Tyre Wear and fuel, do check out in the description. But essentially, Gran Turismo do all their races with tyres 1 fuel and Tyre Wear. That's how they want the cars to handle, so that is why I use it. Heading through Sector 1 then, we are down by 1/10, and that's actually the fastest Sector 1 I did throughout the main tyre session. You can see I'm on the final lap here, and literally, it did struggle with speed a little bit there. And as we go through that first one, I could have used a bit more speed. I carried a bit more speed. Let's go up into this left-hander, though. This is where it did very nicely indeed, this car. I could just turn in, get on the power really quickly. A little bit of oversteer there. One of the only few times I got oversteer as we head up the mountain now. Coming into here, I think I lift a little bit. I do indeed, but I don't think I have to lift at points there. I think you can do that flat. As we come down here, this is where a bit of understeer does occur in this car. Not sure why, and I really did struggle a little bit there. Coming over this little crest here, then it settled down, and then it just turned. It really did turn. We're coming to this next braking zone now. This is where the car struggled. I crashed so many times. Look at that right-hand side. The lap times are all over the place because of how many times I crashed with this car. Going through here wasn't as bad, but going into that braking zone over the crest of the hill, the Ferrari would just spin out. Really would spin out. It's very sensitive on the brakes with that weight transition. It's like the rear just wants to overtake the front. You have to be so careful. So just keep that in mind if you do use this car. Through Forest Elbow though, absolutely no problems there at all for the Ferrari. It had plenty of grip. No real power oversteer there as well, so if you are worried about that, this car really doesn't have it. Only first gear does, and I would recommend not using it as we continue on through. Half a second down on that BMW then as we head towards the chase and into the braking zone we go. Could brake very late in this car actually. That's a good point that I haven't made yet. You can brake very late in this car and really get the car stopped nicely. So if you want to go for those dives, this might be the car for you as we head towards the final corner. I'm going to use the tree on the right hand side. We're going to brake after it though as we go into that braking zone. Settling the car down nicely, accelerate out very quickly indeed. Very stable on exit as you see there in second gear. Going to head towards the line then. What is it going to be in terms of lap times? Ooh, nearly 8 tenths down on that BMW M6. And I'm going to say that's due to 2 reasons. One, it's very unstable on braking in over crests of hills, and it really did struggle there. So obviously that produces less confidence, and it ends up down in P10. The worst performance out of all the track so far. Could do with more top speed. Definitely struggles on top speed. I'll explain that a little bit later on for sure, because top speed definitely isn't there in this car. It's definitely a handling car, but the stability of the car also comes into question because it's just not stable. It really isn't stable, and Bathurst really proved that. I do recommend going try a couple of laps in this car at Bathurst, and you'll see my point of view. That is it in terms of Bathurst then. P10 overall. It's still in, the first leaderboard, but I'm sure that'll get pushed down as we go through more car profiles. And we head towards the fuel test then. So this is all about fuel saving, or how much fuel a car uses. So top left, we've got maximum RPM. So as the red bar hits the end of the bar, we change gear. On the right, we've got a quarter shift. We are trailing half a shift at the moment. I am doing that test. You're just not seeing it at the moment. The quarter shift on the bar. And then at the bottom, we've got fuel map 3 and the quarter shift, because you only use fuel map as a last resort. Real emergency fuel saving. Best way to save fuel is actually short shifting, and that's what we're doing here. So we get to the line then on the left hand side, 25.400 and 58% fuel there on that left hand side. You can see we're about to actually hit it on the right, so you can see a quarter shift really doesn't impact the car that much. I did short shift quite a lot on some of the laps, created stability and allowed the car to actually turn in a bit more. So at Laguna on the kink, staying in 4th gear. And you can see there, no real performance difference, but it does save quite a bit of fuel there. 7% fuel saved, hitting 65% fuel. And that's the sort of thing we are looking at here. The reason I'm testing the half shift is so we get a more obvious point of shifting, because the quarter shift I'm doing it on the figure, and sometimes it can just be a tiny bit off, and these times 50s, a tiny bit is a lot. Down at the bottom, of course, quarter shift plus fuel map, we eventually come across the line there, 26.333 and a well, yeah, decent amount of fuel saved there as well. I think that was in the 70s. What we're going to do then is load the leaderboards. Remember, these did change previously. And the maximum RPM, it's not even on the first half of the leaderboard. This shows you the performance of this car. It struggles on power. It really does. And it's not even in the top 10. We will have a look where it fits in the top 10. So we've got 57 on the fuel there. So it's down in P12. It does, you know, it's all right on the fuel, to be fair. You know, 58. So it's a bit more than the others. So it's not absolutely drowning in fuel in terms of eating it all, drinking it all. So it's not too bad there. Got to quarter shift up into P8 then. So that quarter shift shows that it really doesn't lose that much performance on that quarter shift. Very significant there. As you see, it's in P8 now with 65 and very similar to everybody else in terms of fuel around that area. As you can see, some slower cars there, even on 66. So it's very much performing better on that quarter shift in terms of fuel saving. So it may be a car that you want to use in a fuel saving race, but we're going to see how it does in that fuel map test then. As we go to fuel map 3 in a quarter shift. P9 then. It's actually joint P8 there with the Alfa Romeo, but the Alfa just beats it there because of it's alphabetically just higher in the alphabet. And that's all that is. So you can see that very similar to the Alfa, so not too shabby there at all. Still faster than the Audis and the Aston Martin in terms of performance, and saves the same amount of fuel there. So it is quite a good fuel saver. It does come back in the fuel saving area in terms of performance, so that's one to keep in mind. So it does have a bit of a strength there, as we're going to get ready with the tyre test now. Okay, so with the tyre test, what we do at the moment, I'm going to say at the moment because we're going to see a second tyre test in a second, is we go out onto the oval at Daytona and we just accelerate all the way around until the first tyre wears down. That is what we're going to do. Okay, now the reason I do this is because I'm trying to limit the amount of human errors that can come into play when trying to test a tyre wear. It's very difficult to do a proper tyre wear test, although I believe I'll probably come up with a better one, and we'll see what happens. You notice the speed here, 166, 167, 168 there. It's not hitting the 170s like some cars do, so it really does struggle with top-end speed, does this Ferrari. Maybe something that needs reviewed for this car, having a little bit of a power increase, but nothing major. We'll have to see what PD do then, as we're going to head towards the end of this. Now you can see that right rear tyre getting lower and lower and lower, and essentially what we do here in that tyre test is we stop it right there, where it's just gone to 0% wear. So at the top, we've got 10.271. We add that to lap 2 there, which is a 52.943, and add it to lap 1 as well, which is a 49.786. That gives us an overall time of how long the tyre lasted, because that's the amount of laps we've done there, and the tyre lasted to that point. So what we do then is we combine it together. However, before we do that, this is the test I'm doing now, and this is at Sardinia Layout C in reverse. The reason I'm doing that is because of the daily race the other week. Actually, it demonstrated that it did give very accurate tyre wear indicators for different cars and where they would run out of tyres. So what we do, I've already advanced to the 5th lap here, is I'm going to stop it where the tyre runs out of fuel. Runs out of tyre wear. It doesn't run out of fuel at all, Tidge, your weapon. And again, we would do the same thing here. So you can see the sectors come on there. So I'd advance it a bit further because the set time stays the same. And essentially add that with all the 52s on the right hand side. So you see it's consistent as well. And that gives us an overall time. Now, I will say this. At the moment, from the tests I've done, my first tyre test and the second tyre test are identical in terms of their results. Therefore, I'm happy that my tyre tests are working out very well. But as you see here, it comes home in P7. Now, I've done the tyre test, the new one, with 2 cars, the Porsche 911 and the Ferrari 458. They are very close together on my second tyre test. The Porsche just beating the Ferrari, which makes perfect sense to me and does show that the test is working well. And that is the tyre test. The Audi R8 LMS is just shocking there. Look at that, down at 1 minute 30. We can do retests at any point. So if you feel that I've been wrong, driven a car wrong in any way, or I need to do a retest in any shape, I've done some fuel retests already, do let me know in the comments. Overall, it comes a joint 5th, actually, not P6 there. Joint 5th because the Toyota Supra GT500, the exact same overall time there. So it's not too bad, the Ferrari, to be honest with you. Definitely in the top end of the mid-pack there, but it's not in the meta area of the cars. And that's, of course, where we actually picked this car in Beat the Meta. If there's a particular car you want to see done in terms of the car profiles and Beat the Meta, let me know in the comments. If it's not on the results there, I've not done it yet. We are doing Beat the Meta this week in 2 cars, actually. We'll see what happens there. That's a sneak peek of what's coming on Sunday. But if you have enjoyed it, do give it a like and do subscribe to the channel. You did see that graphic there, and that is going to be it. The Beat the Meta for this Ferrari is there for you, as well as the previous car profile of the Porsche. One worth checking out. There's an entire playlist of the car profiles you do need to check out. Thank you once again for watching, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.